Hello there, YouTube. Devin here again with another uniform review for you, and this is on one of my probably favorite issued combat uniforms ever, for how absurd it is. And for those of you who can't tell, this is the Swiss M70 combat uniform. Now I say combat uniform because it was really only intended to be given to frontline combat troops. And once again, this is a thing where I only actually have the jacket. So we will only be comparing this jacket to the BDU uniform blouse, the American BDU uniform blouse, to compare some similarities and some differences, in which case it's almost going to be entirely differences, because this uniform is absurd in the amount of stuff it was trying to accomplish at the same time. It was very reminiscent, kind of like of how the Canadians did stuff in the 60s, where they wanted to do away with as much field equipment as possible and just incorporate it into the uniform. So much just like the Canadians did, pockets are designed to hold magazines, water bottles, canteens, cooking gear, field, basically all of your stuff. And your belt was basically only meant to hold, your entrenching tool, your bayonet frog, and, a few other bits and bobs that you wouldn't necessarily need all of the time, whereas, no matter what you're doing in the military, you're not always going to need a shovel, you're not always going to need your bayonet, but you're always going to need to eat, you're always going to need to be able to have water, you're always going to need your ammunition to be ready at a moment's notice and stuff like that. So that's what this uniform was meant to have everything you would need in the field, even if you weren't in combat. And then they would have little spots for you to be able to put on, your belt and your suspenders to hold your actual, combat equipment you would need, your e-tool and your bayonet and everything like I just previously said. So this uniform is an unissued one, an M70's combat uniform, and this is actually a kind of later one. There was a couple different variations, most of them basically just aesthetic. They didn't really change anything as how the pockets were laid out and stuff. There would be kind of some different reinforcement material and things like that nature, but nothing really massively changed of this uniform during its whole lifespan, which is from the 50s until the 90s. So it's a very, very long-serving combat uniform. It must have worked particularly well, unlike the Canadian design, which tried to accomplish a lot of the same stuff. This thing is horrendously covered in pockets and features and all of the other cool jazz, and everything that we're going to eventually get into when we take a look at this jacket in closer detail. So a few features I can get out of the way right away so we don't have to show them on the regular thing, is that it does have little hooks via these D-rings to put on your a field-mounted backpack for extra gear and stuff like that. It has a collar with 3 different snap locations, okay, so you can adjust to different circumferences on your how tight you would like the collar. It has a stowable hood that buttons up here in the back with a veil in it. So as you can see, here's the hood to the side, there's the veil, and everything in the hood. The hood stows along the back. You can button it to itself so it can lay flat, as you can see there. So you don't need to have your hood out all the time if you do not want it. Has different cool little features for the ability to hook stuff onto it, like this little hook on the front, which would be normally used for a flashlight, or sometimes a knife, or some other cool stuff like that. But most of the pictures you see, especially after the M71 helmet came out, where they put the little D-rings on them, you see it as a way to store the helmet. Soldiers used it very regularly to store their helmet like this when they weren't needing it, but they would possibly need it later, like a brief before an exercise or something. They would just clip their helmets to their jacket like this, and then it's not in the way, it's not bothering anybody, it gives you a real cool place to rest your arms. Cool stuff like that. So, general history of this uniform is, like I said, it was introduced in the 50s. It's in the Alpenflage pattern, which is actually the collector name for it, and all of this other cool jazz and features and whatnot. There's so much on this jacket to cover. It's going to be a pretty long video, but I hope you guys bear with me, and if you can actually get one of these, I highly recommend you do, because this is a very comfortable, very durable, very long-lasting, very, very versatile jacket. This is, no pun intended, the Swiss Army knife of combat uniforms. It will literally do everything you need it to. It's horrendous how much this jacket can do and how well it actually does all of it. And cutting down on all the equipment you need to bring, because you can just literally throw this on like a jacket, because it is a jacket, and have everything you need to just go and fight. It's absurd how well this jacket does that and how versatile it is in traditional Swiss fashion, being ludicrously overcomplicated for what it actually needs to do. So we're going to flip the camera around now, take a look at the uniform compared to the BDU blouse and all the other good jazz. We're going to take the helmet off, get it out of the way, because I just put it on. It's a cool little prop to show you how the hook works and stuff like that. And then we will flip it back around, look at it from some different angles, look at it from some different features, compare it to the BDU blouse a couple different times. There will be no trousers and or pants in this video. Unfortunately, I don't own a pair of the trousers or pants anymore, because the one pair I had only fit me when I was very small. And now that I'm an adult, I cannot wear them anymore. So they ended up getting thrown away or given away or sold or something in the past. I don't exactly remember what happened to them. But stay tuned. We're going to flip it around and take a look at some of the very, 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 very cool, overcomplicated features of this jacket. Alrighty, so here we are with the Swiss M70 field uniform here on the left and the American M83 BDUs on the right. Now there is a significant overlap where these were the standard combat garments of both of their respective countries. And as you can see here, if I actually had to choose between both of these, I would honestly take the Swiss one because of just the sheer amount of stuff that is implemented into this jacket compared to the American-style BDUs. The American-style BDUs still do have a lot of features that I really, really like, and I do like the kind of more minimalist approach of the BDUs quite a lot, and the ability to roll the sleeves. It's very important to me as somebody who's very warm-blooded. But we're going to get over some features here and compare these two now, and this will probably be a longer section of video. So starting off up here, the American BDUs, no hood. They don't have a hood. They would issue your field jacket separate, your M65 field jacket separate, which would have a stowable hood. But that is not the subject matter of today's video. That is a separate garment, whereas the Swiss would have a hood on their jacket. It is integrated, fully stitched on. As you can see, there's a button here to store the hood. The hood is big enough to fit over the helmet. It has a couple different ways that you can store it and roll it up using this button flap. Even the flap stores with its own little button. It has a snap here that is hiding a sniper veil that can be rolled up and tucked into this flap in the opening of the hood. As you can see here, this flap. This is a 50-50 cotton polyester blend type fabric. It's made in a twill weave. Now, like I said, the collar is a fall type collar. As you can see here, it is these three snaps for adjustability, with the female end of the snap being on the left-hand side of the collar. Here's the size tag. As you can see there, it is a size 52. You do normally want this to run a little bit bigger than your regular stuff because you're going to be wearing this over other layers. So now first thing we're going to get into be able to compare between the two is the epaulets. The Swiss M70 combat jacket does have epaulets for attaching rank and stuff like that. The American BDUs do not. The chest pockets on the Swiss M70 combat uniform here are incredibly innovative. They have 3 snap closures here on the right breast pocket with a little divider in it to hold STG 57 magazines or SIG 510 magazines. The flaps are even designed to fit the square shape of the magazines when it's full. So that way they don't rattle around a lot. They get a nice tight fit. There's fabric between them to help keep them very, very secure, very, very snug, and to keep them from making noise, which is very important. There's a lot of stuff in this jacket that would make a lot of noise had they not, designed the pockets in this exact way. Moving over to the left breast pocket, you have a split chest pocket. So this is a double cell magazine pocket, which once again holds even more magazines. One of the pockets is divided, one of them isn't. Once again, just for magazines, they have little drainage eyelets on the bottom. All the pockets have drainage eyelets on the bottom. But once again, the pocket flap is split up here, and it is designed to be have the corner stitched so they are very, very square
once again, to make sure that they fit the magazines really snug and well. So, and then everything is those very classic kind of pebbled German style snaps. Moving over to the left arm, there's nothing on the left arm of the American BDUs. On the left arm here, we do have a pocket for a first aid kit present on the left arm there. So moving down from that, we have a universal hook that does swivel here on the chest, which would be used to attach flashlights, like I said, knives, other little equipment, things like that, and for your helmet quite often. The American BDU does not have any of that. The pockets are not designed to hold magazines on there, but they are used for little tiny effects and stuff like that. So moving downwards, we do have a waist pocket here on the front of the Swiss M70 uniform that you can secure via 3 kinds of snaps. They are enclosed, like they have these weird kind of little bits here that the mouth is actually smaller than the flap is, and that's meant to carry, you know, anything else you would need, magazines, water bottles, anything you want. There's a lot of customizability in this uniform here. It even has dual rows of snaps, so you can actually get a little bit of extra space out of it because of the snaps being slightly higher than the other ones, the next row down, so you can squeeze an extra inch or so of space out of it. The left side waist pocket is exactly the same as the right side one. The waist pockets on the American BDUs, much the same. One bellow though, only here on the side. The Swiss pockets are bellowed 360 degrees around them, which is great because you get even more space out of them. The Americans didn't do that. They wanted a kind of smaller, sleek profile. So the front closure of this uniform is a zipper, as you can see here. And then there is a series of snaps, and then down here at the bottom there's a little flap and a snap that you don't need to do up unless you really want the wind protection. An elastic drawstring hem that you can adjust. There's little buttons here on either side to gather it if you need more space. The BDUs do not have any of that at all. So the cuffs are elastic here, adjustable with zippers. If you need more airflow, you can zip them up or down. Poncho material, so rubberized nylon for elbow reinforcements, whereas the BDUs just have fabric. And that basically covers the front of the uniform for a comparison. So if you haven't watched the very first video in this playlist where I compare the BDUs to the American Improved Hot Weather Combat Uniform, I highly encourage you watch that to get more detail about the American BDUs, because these are the constant we're comparing everything to. They've been used all over the world by multiple different countries. They're very familiar to a lot of people. So now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this uniform around, take a look at the back of each of these, and then we will look at the inside of each of these jackets, which normally I don't do because there isn't a whole lot going on the inside of a lot of uniforms, but there is in this particular instance with the Swiss one. So stay tuned. Alrighty, so here we are with the Swiss M70 uniform flipped over here onto the back. Same thing with the American BDUs. As you see, the American BDUs are quite plain. Not a whole lot going on back here, which is pretty consistent with a lot of American uniforms. They don't like stuff to really bunch up here on your back. What you see here on the Swiss uniform is a gigantic pocket here on the back. Once again, with the corners sewn a little bit, so that you could tell that it is indeed a pocket, not just like a vent pouch or anything. It's all connected, it's bellowed. Once again, all the way around it, which we'll see more in detail when we go look at the inside of the jacket here. But on the back of the jacket, you can once again see these 3 massive pockets. This is a very wide, deep pocket meant for, you know, water bottles, camping equipment, ponchos, gloves, hats, stuff like that. Field stoves, tons of stuff. You can see rounded pocket here in the center. Once again, you know, very big, very good. Lots of storage, extra magazines. You see pen pouches here, and utensil pouches. This is actually where you'd keep your like knife, fork, and spoon. You know, pens, other little things you might need, toothbrush and stuff like that. Cleaning kits, all that other good jazz would be, you know, kept here on the back. Stuff you didn't really necessarily need quite as often. Compared to the American BDU. Nothing. It's just fabric here in the back. There's no buy swing. There's no anything. This the Swiss M70 uniform has no buy swing or anything like that either. So, but there is another very, very cool feature about the Swiss M70 uniform. You could put a field pack onto the uniform, and here is the field pack once again. Gigantic, huge pocket here in the back, triple snap closure, running ports for different webbing and straps and stuff like that. Two big long pockets here on either side that have big elastic keepers at the top. That's for like the M70 field stove and stuff like that. You would route it underneath these straps with these hooks underneath the epaulette straps up here on the shoulder, and hook it to those little D-rings on top of the chest pockets, which actually gives you really, really good even weight distribution on this jacket. The backpack is made out of the same material as the field uniform, actually, which is very, very nice. It keeps it very, very quiet. It's a very flexible, very breathable, very durable fabric, but it's really quiet overall. So what you have in there, you have your extra D-rings up here. They're made out of aluminum. They're there to hold extra little bread bags and stuff that you can clip on, things like that, mess kits, stuff like that with straps. It's all very, very innovative. It is attached around the waist via this belt with this little kind of weird, overly complicated alligator buckle, which is meant to keep tension on it, and then, you know, a just regular old slider buckle that is used to adjust the circumference of the whole thing. It works out quite well. It secures quite well. It's very, very quiet. It doesn't really feel like it's taking up a lot of room on your back. It doesn't bunch up a whole lot. And you can carry a lot of stuff in it. This jacket is meant to basically be a rucksack. It holds everything that you would need, and you could just throw it on and off, which is great. A very, very innovative feature that the Swiss did that not really a lot of other people tried with. Like I said, the Canadians kind of went for something, but not quite this extreme. And theirs didn't work out or last anywhere near as long here as the Swiss one did. The Canadian one kind of tried it with the Pattern 64 field gear and stuff like that, but theirs didn't really work out. It was kind of universally hated, and soldiers tended to run out of ammo and equipment and stuff very easily, and it wore the uniform out way too quickly. The Swiss had much better luck. They did it a much better design with better fabric and much higher quality materials and stuff, so theirs lasted quite a lot longer, about 40 years of service life, which is huge in terms of a uniform. 40 years is a very long time for a uniform to serve. So now we're going to flip the camera around, take a look at the inside of the Swiss M70 jacket compared to the American BDUs, and we'll cover the last little bit of features on this jacket, and then we will wrap up the video and I'll get it out for you guys. It's very, very early in the morning, so if you're seeing this today, it means my computer did all of the work without me basically uploading it and stuff, which I'm hoping it does, so bear with me if you're seeing this. Leave a like or comment or something, meaning I finally figured out some more crap I could do. The internet, as you know me, I'm not very technologically capable and stuff like that. It means the world to me. Patreons are able to help me buy software and learn and sit down and stuff like this and get good camera equipment and good lighting and stuff like that. That's all Patreon supported. If you care to join that, there's a link in the description. You get to be a part of the Discord. You can ask me as many questions as you want for as little as $1 a month. There's no time period on it. If you want to pay just $1 for 1 month, that's totally fine. It all helps out, and it goes to a good cause. So I could keep teaching you guys, bring you all this cool stuff, and show you all these neat features that I have throughout my collection here. So thank you. Stay tuned. We'll flip this around and take a look at the very, very still over-engineered Swiss designed inside of this jacket here. Alrighty, so we have the uniforms flipped over here. We're going to take a look at the American BDU first because it's real easy to show the inside of. There is nothing here on the inside except for a use and care tag. Nothing fancy, no internal pockets, nothing like that. It's just kind of base fabric. Now we're going to look at the Swiss one, which we're going to open up very, very wide here so you could see the inside here. Now there is quite a few pockets on the inside of these here, of this here jacket. You can see adjustment straps here. Now these adjustment straps would be used to tie together with these. They're just kind of extra little fabric, but you could use these to connect to certain things that you could hang on the jacket. There would be little internal straps and buckles on a lot of Swiss stuff that you could use this strap to attach stuff to the inside of the jacket. You could use it to tie gloves into to help keep your gloves warm and dry. You could wrap socks up in these to help dry socks and stuff like that. There's an internal pocket down here, down by the waistcoat. Now this would be where you'd keep documents, your notebook and stuff like that, so you could keep them warm and dry. Because the magazine pouches and everything would stick out far enough full of magazines to hopefully keep this from getting too wet. It is a very large internal pocket, as you can see here. This big, huge square of fabric here is this big internal pocket. It's very flat. It's not bellowed or anything, so it's really only meant for paper and stuff like that, and documents and stuff of that nature. Now, back up to, like I promised to tell you, we have this massive pocket right here in the back. It's got these little straps to help hold it closed, to keep this, fabric from bunching up and falling around. But it is a massive pocket, and it takes up basically half of the back. You can see the little thread line for it here going across. It is a massive pocket. It goes from basically your armpit to your other armpit, and then halfway down your back. Absolutely gigantic pocket, and that is where you would keep your wool blanket and stuff like that. Stuff you could fold up very, very flat. Maybe a poncho or something like that, or a ground sheet, just to give you a little added extra dryness protection for your blanket and stuff that you're going to need to be, sleeping in. But that's normally what would store in that pouch, so you could use your body heat to keep it warm, keep it dry, stuff like that. And then it would also, double in the fact that you would have this big, huge square sheet of wool blanket as padding for a lot of heavier gear you would be wearing, which is really, really nice to have. So it's kind of a dual purpose thing, a lot of purposes at once, which is why this is actually the Swiss Army knife of combat uniforms. It does so many purposes. Every single thing on this jacket does multiple purposes and can be customized in any way, shape, or form you want based on what you want to put in there. So that huge blanket pouch is a fantastic piece of gear. You could fold up your blanket, you get extra back padding, which is super nice, and you're also keeping your blanket dry. Very, very nice feature. It's used quite a lot, actually. The Swiss really, really liked those back pouches and stuff like that. Your blanket being dry is really nice, because at the end of a long, hard day, training out in the wet weather, getting to have a nice, dry sleeping space is actually really, really, really nice. It's a very big morale booster. So that's a good way to do it. It's just using a part of the jacket, as you see with the Americans, that is oftentimes unused space. You can put something in there that does a lot of features. So that concludes the video here on comparing the Swiss M70 combat uniform to the American BDUs, which once again, these two uniforms served at the same time in the world, and you could see who's willing to put in more innovation and more stuff like that. And this had a much longer service life than the BDUs actually did even. So like I said, this is over 40 years. That's about 20 years and stuff like that. So it's a very, very neat, very, very cool design jacket. If you have one of these, let me know what you think about it in the comments, what you use all the pockets for and stuff like that. I'd very, very much like to hear it. I'm sure other people would like to hear about it, because this is a super good hiking survivalist jacket, end of the world jacket type stuff like that. Hangs up real easy, You could fill all the pockets, hang it up, grab it and go. Everything's all there. It has customizable upgrades, such as the backpack, where you can get even more space out of something. This jacket that already has a ludicrous amount of space and stuff like that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you like this sort of thing. If you do like this video, if you have learned something and you do want to support the channel, we're over 3,700 subscribers. The goal is to get to 4. The goal was to get to 3 by the end of this year. So we're over that. But if we can get to 4 now, that'd be fantastic. I'm looking to hopefully make $100 a month on Patreon. That'd be cool. I could do so much for the channel with $100 a month on Patreon and 20 Patreon subscribers, which I think we hit. So I think we hit that goal. So we're doing really, really well. So thank you all for watching. I will see all of you here hopefully in the next video. All the other good stuff. Hope you learned something and all of that sweet, sweet jazz. I'm going to finally open the windows. These lights are hot as hell and everything else, and enjoy some nice weather. Go to work today and all that other good jazz. Thank you all for stopping by, and I will see all of you here very, very soon. Bye-bye now.